Hello, welcome back to 52 Movies. This is episode 9. We're going to be talking about Grad. So Grad is a movie that came out in 2009 and it's been on my list since 2009, so about 12 years. So I've kind of hyped it up in my head this whole time and didn't really live up to expectations, unfortunately, but we'll get into that. Grad is a movie about a girl who works hard to achieve her life plan, but once she graduates college, things just don't go to plan. So the movie starts out with a view of her computer screen and it's almost like she's vlogging. I don't think vlogging was a thing in 2009, but she was like vlogging. So she was talking to the camera and she's pulling up different tabs showing you her life plan. It was an interesting way to introduce the story and have exposition. However, I don't think it really pertains to the story because she doesn't continue vlogging throughout the story. This is just a one-time thing. So I thought that was an interesting choice. One way they could have done this differently, because she does explain her past and how she's had this plan for her life since she was a kid. So it could have shown her as a kid planning out her life plan and then showing her growing up, and it could have shown how devoted she was to this. And I think showing her growing up and stuff and developing her life plan when she was little would have been more impactful than her just talking to a screen, because she was showing us and not telling, which is one of the main rules of storytelling. Show, don't tell. So I think that would have been a better way, a more impactful way to do it. Anywho, so she details her life plan and it shows her graduating, it shows her going to dinner with her family, and she tells her family and her best friend that she's got a job lined up at a publishing company that she's dreamed about her whole life. Next, it shows her touring an apartment that is really close to the publishing company, and she immediately signs the papers for the lease. She's toured one apartment and is done. She signs the lease. She's done. She's found her apartment. And she doesn't even have a job yet. The job is lined up. Her interview is lined up, but she doesn't have the job yet. As the least impulsive person ever, that's scary to me. So her bad luck begins. We are introduced to her string of bad luck when her and her best friend are in a fender bender on her way to her interview. So she has to run to the interview. She's already a little bit late. And when she gets there, it turns out there are a dozen other applicants waiting to be interviewed. Also, I didn't mention earlier, but books are her biggest personality trait. That's a very common trope in 2000s movies. The main character will be different because she likes books. And that's her main personality trait. We're going to get into it later, her other personality traits that I'm not a big fan of, but one of them is her impulsiveness. And you're going to see that a lot as I go through the movie. So yeah, her biggest personality trait is books. She talks about when she was younger and in summer camp, all the other kids were outside playing and she was inside reading books, classic literature. And she lists off authors and books that we probably read in school. Anyways, that goes back to the not like other girls thing. It was very popular around the time this movie was made to have the main characters be into books. So she's interviewed, the interview is very fast, and the interviewer is kind of dismissive. And then her rival shows up and is there for an interview too. So her rival gets the job and she doesn't. She also didn't get the apartment she had signed for because she doesn't have a job to pay the bills. Then it shows her and her best friend at an empty supermarket, which was kind of confusing, but we learned that his dad owns the supermarket. And we also learned that he likes her and she doesn't like him back. So anyway, she moves back home with her parents and we meet her hot neighbor. Bestie's got some competition. So after that, we get a job hunting montage. There's also 2 scenes that I'm going to include here. One was kind of funny and one was really weird. I didn't understand it.
What did I tell you about licking the kids' heads?
Don't do it.
That's right, ever, okay?
Fine.
I mean, I know you like the way it tastes, but some kids don't like having their heads licked.
So after her job hunting montage, there is a scene where she and her best friend goes to a party with all of the other graduates. Everybody is doing really, really well for themselves. They've got their jobs, stuff like that. They're going places. And Ryder, I don't know if I mentioned her name. The main girl's name is Ryder, by the way. Ryder doesn't have anything lined up. She tries to like skirt around it and say, oh, I'm just doing things, and but they call her out on it. They're like, yeah, so you're unemployed. That was kind of mean anyways. Even her best friend has things lined up. He has been accepted to law school in New York, and he has a show coming up. He's basically the cliche white guy on a guitar. So she's been looking for a job for a while. Her dad offers her a job at his luggage store. But as she's working there and showing off luggage, her rival shows up and she's bragging about her job and that she gets to travel for her work and yada yada yada. And she gets mad and storms off. She just quits her job right then and there. Then her and her hot neighbor have breakfast together. He offers her a job with him as like an assistant. Things get real heated and then the family walks in on it. So the first day on her new job, her neighbor just quits. So she loses another job. So I think she's had like 2 jobs that she's just quit right after she started. So it's the night of her best friend's music show and she's too busy fraternizing with the neighbor, so she misses it. So then we get a confrontation between the best friend and Ryder. The best friend basically tells her that he's done waiting around for her. He's done being there for her when she's not there for him, and he leaves. So she gets a phone call that her nemesis quit her dream job, so she's next in line for that, and she gets the job, and she goes to tell her best friend that she's got the job, but he is on his way to law school in New York. Then we get a montage of her working hard at this new job, and it's not exactly what she expected it to be. So she goes to visit neighbor guy, who's actually moving back to Brazil. He says he misses his family and has no one to come home to. So then we get the theme of the movie, and I'm going to read it off here. So the neighbor guy says, and I quote, "I finally realized that what you do with your life is only one half of the equation. The other, more important half, is who you're with when you're doing it." I just love it when a movie spells out the whole theme for you. I mean, obviously we could figure this out on our own, but yeah, it does make my job a little bit easier. So now she's thinking about her bestie boy, and she gives up her dream job, the job that she's worked her whole life for, and moves 3,000 miles away to be with him. So it ends with her going to New York, and she's in New York with him, and I guess they have a life together. It doesn't really show any details. I would have loved to see what she does with her life while she's in New York, because obviously she can't just like sit at home with him. She's got to have a job. So I would have loved to see what she did for her job, but that's not something that was shown. So also, I don't think she had that job long enough to really make a difference on her resume. It's not going to look very impressive that she had this job for maybe, I don't know, there was a montage, so it could have been a couple of weeks, couple months. It's not going to look very good. You know, the longer you stay at a job, the better it looks on your resume, because it makes you seem very reliable. So I don't think that's going to look very good on her resume. So we've got 2 themes. One is life doesn't always go as planned, and 2 is life is great when you have somebody to share it with. Those are our 2 themes. And the last theme was something that we explored in my Princess and the Frog review, that your life is so much sweeter when you have somebody to share it with. So we've had 2 or 3 movies that have had the same theme so far this year. Is that the universe trying to tell me something? Because I'm pretty happy being alone, thank you. Leave me alone. So where does this movie go right, and where does it go wrong? Let's get into it. So I don't think some of the things that happen in this movie are logical and smart. Ryden, I can't remember her name. Alexis Bledel is her name. The main girl is said to be smart and intelligent and future-minded, but her actions do not display these things. Some examples of this were signing a lease before you even had a job, signing that lease before you've even explored other apartments, missing her best friend's show, and quitting her dream job to move cross-country for a boy. So quitting her job is probably the biggest thing in this movie that I kind of have a gripe with. One thing she could have done that probably wouldn't have been as romantic or theatrical was call the boy and tell him, hey, I really want to be with you. Like, pour her heart out to him over the phone. Not as romantic or theatrical, like I said, but just hear me out, okay? She could have called him, poured her heart out, and said, but I need to stay here in, California. I need to stay here in California for a little while, work this job, build up my resume, also build contacts, just be smart about it, you know. I need to build my life here, and then I will move up there with you. And she could already have a job lined up in New York. She could be very smart about it, but she wasn't. I want her to be smart, Like, this movie is telling me that she is. But I have not seen any of that. I have just seen her graduate from college and try to find a job and do impulsive things. I haven't seen her display her intelligence, to say the least. Also, long distance is a thing. You know, it's not ideal, but a lot of people can make it work. And their friendship has survived a lot. They've been friends since they were kids. So they could have waited a little bit longer and had things lined up and been smart about it, but they didn't. Overall, this movie was just okay. I don't know why it took me so long to finally watch it, but I thought it would be better than it was. I've kind of hyped it up in my head for like 12 years now, so yeah, I think it's partially my fault. Like, if I would have watched it back in the day, I might would have enjoyed it, and I might would have had positive thoughts about it, but overall, it was just, it was okay. It was average. Also, as much as I love Alexis Bledel, she played in Sisters of the Traveling Pants, which is one of my favorite movies growing up. I don't know how I would like it now. Maybe I'll put that on my list to watch this year, but it was one of my favorite movies growing up, and she was in it, so maybe that was why I wanted to watch this movie for so long. And she was also in Gilmore Girls. Everybody knows Gilmore Girls. And she was kind of quiet there too, so I just don't know if I was really sold on her in this role. Most of the time I thought she was great in other things, but this one I felt like just didn't mesh well with her for some reason. All the older actors were great though. Michael Keaton, Carol Burnett, Jane Lynch, and a bunch of other ones in there. They were all pretty good. And some places in this movie were very funny and entertaining, but overall it was just okay. So if you want to watch a movie that's from 2009, this definitely fits the bill. It really reminds me of movies around that time, so those are my thoughts on the film. I thought it was just okay. I think it could have been done better, but it wouldn't have made for a very exciting movie if they would have done it like I said. But I'm just saying, people need to be more smart about things, you know? Anyways, that's it. Bye. So I had a lot of trouble picking Song of the Week for this week. I've been listening to a lot of older stuff, and I really didn't want to like bring that here. I wanted to talk about some newer things this week. So Still Woozy released a new song, I think it was last week or week before, called Rocky, and it's really, really good. I like all of the things that he releases, but I really enjoyed this one, and I guess I'm going to show you that one. I really like the two before that, BS and Window. I like those songs a lot, but I think I'm going to show you Rocky since it's like almost brand new. So, I just So that was part of Still Woozy's Rocky. I'm trying to shorten the portion of the song that I show you because I keep getting copyright claimed, and I don't mind getting copyright claimed because I don't make any money anyways, but I just don't want it to turn into a copyright strike because it's like 3 strikes, your channel's gone, you know? So we're going to try to be very careful. I want to keep it under 10 seconds, which is hard because I love these songs and I want to show you many different parts and it's just so much fun. But with regard to copyright law, we got to be careful. So I hope you enjoyed this review and I will see you next week. I'm not sure what we're going to watch next week. I usually have it planned way ahead of time, but it's just been a week. It has been a heck of a week. So we shall see. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next week for episode 10. Bye.